All right, guys, this is Tara Devlin from Tarabuster, Unapologetic Liberal Talk. And it came out today that the FBI investigation into Brett I Like Beer Kavanaugh was a sham. Just like we suspected it was, just like the entire hearing was a sham that we knew. And it's, for those who don't remember, let's play.
Yes, we drank beer. My friends and I, the boys and girls.
Boys and
yes,
girls.
we drank beer. I liked beer. Still like.
Could you imagine if this was a woman or someone with darker pigment? I mean, that's beside the point. He's unfit. We know that. There were, but there are other concerns here as well. There were 4,500 credible tips into the FBI tip line, apparently. And the more pertinent ones were funneled directly into Twitler's White House, which, of course, they were promptly flushed down the memory hole. And what are we going to do about it? It seems like the Democratic Party, I don't know, for some reason, it drives me insane. They just go along. Okay, well, we lost that battle. That's okay. He's on the Supreme Court. Oh, well, Justice Kavanaugh is here to stay. Please, since Moscow Mitch McConnell started corrupting the judiciary, I've been screaming about I've been saying for years that in every Republican chest beats the heart of fascism, but corrupting the judiciary is one of the recipes, one of the ingredients in an autocratic takeover, and it's part of the early days of an autocratic takeover. So for years, when Moscow Mitch, during the Obama years, when he prevented Obama from fulfilling his constitutionally proscribed role to nominate a Supreme Court justice, and Moscow Mitch he blocked it, he obstructed it for no constitutional reason except he could get away with it. And the fact is, Gorsuch is illegitimate. Not just Kavanaugh. Gorsuch is illegitimate. Kavanaugh is illegitimate. Amy Coney Barrett is illegitimate. Not only that, they have absolutely no honor. And I would argue they hate this country because Moscow Mitch could invite them to a coup, but they don't have to participate in it. Just like the same way the few the few Republicans around the country didn't go along with Twitler's coup to overturn the election. You don't have to, just because somebody invites you to a coup, you don't got to go along with it. But there's Neil Gorsuch, who is illegitimate. And the Democratic Party needs to address him as such. Whenever they get in front of a camera, they need to call Gorsuch illegitimate. Kavanaugh, the illegitimate Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. The illegitimate Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Because the Republican Party is they rewrite history. I mean, that's part of fascism. But they've been rewriting the history of the Kavanaugh hearings as if Kavanaugh is a victim here, when it was Dr. Ford who is the victim and the American people who are the victims. Now, let's remember, here's Dr. Ford. She has no qualms about who assaulted her.
Dr. Ford, with what degree of certainty do you believe Brett Kavanaugh assaulted you?
100%.
100%. But when the Republican Party they adopted this line, here's Brett Kavanaugh.
I'm not questioning that Dr. Ford may have been sexually assaulted by some person in some place at some time. But I have never done this to her or to anyone.
Dr. Ford, with what degree of certainty do you believe Brett Kavanaugh assaulted you?
100%.
100%.
And this became the Republican Party line where they say, well, Susan Collins, I don't doubt that something happened to her, but it wasn't him. 3 separate women, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, Deborah Ramirez, and Julie Swetnick, have accused Kavanaugh of committing criminal sexual offenses in the 80s. Okay, there were plenty of other tips that the FBI needed to follow up on. But this is part of a bigger picture. Like I said, Kavanaugh's illegitimate. Amy Coney Barrett is illegitimate. Gorsuch is illegitimate. I would even argue that Roberts is illegitimate, appointed by an illegitimately appointed president who was appointed by the Supreme Court, who received fewer votes. So we're living in a country where one political party, the Republican Party, is no longer a small d Democratic Party. They are an autocratic party, and they are doing all they can to obliterate democracy, following the playbook of all autocracies that have corrupted democracies before them. Christopher Browning, World War II historian, calls Mitch McConnell the Gravedigger of American Democracy. Here's Christopher Browning's words. If the U.S. has someone whom historians will look back on as the Gravedigger of American democracy, it is Mitch McConnell. He stoked the hyperpolarization of American politics to make the Obama presidency as dysfunctional and paralyzed as he possibly could. As with parliamentary gridlock in Weimar, congressional gridlock in the United States has diminished respect for democratic norms, allowing McConnell to trample them even more. Nowhere in this vicious circle is this clearer than in the obliteration of traditional precedents concerning judicial appointments. And like I said, look at the history of Nazis taking over the Weimar Republic. As soon as they got a little bit of power, they started stuffing illegitimate justices all throughout the judiciary. So when you go to court to object to the destruction of your constitutional rights or to find justice, you come in front of a Nazi judge and they nullify your case. And over time, democracy itself is null and void. So we have an obligation as patriots to unpack the Supreme Court, unpack the judiciary in general, and remember that this is a tactic. We can't stand idly by and allow this anti-democratic, greed-centered Republican Party death cult to get away with their destroying the constitutionally limited democratic republic that so many fought, bled, and died to entrust to us. Every time anyone, a Democrat, a media pundit who isn't a fascist, well, especially the Democrats themselves, every time they get in front of a camera, they need to refer to the Supreme Court justices who Moscow Mitch illegitimately stuffed onto the bench. They need to be referred to as the illegitimate Barrett, the illegitimate Kavanaugh, the illegitimate Gorsuch. Because in democracies require agreements. They require the people to agree on norms. And it's not about, another norm's been blown up, which is what we've heard over the past 4 years as Twitler squatted in the White House and before. But it's about the destruction outright of democracy. So these lines, once crossed, never go back unless we deliberately restore them. And that's what has to happen with the courts. My name is Tara Devlin. hit the like, the subscribe, and the notification bell to get notified when we go live. And we will win. This is the unapologetic liberal media. We're on the right side of history. We're on the right side of decency, dignity, and democracy. My name is Tara Devlin. I'll see you soon.